Hey everybody, this is Nate from 907 Bikes, and today I'm going to be showing you how to convert your Fatbike wheel from tubed to tubeless. Afterwards, I'll include some tips and tricks for tubeless maintenance and performance. Let's get started. There are many different ways to set up your Fatbike wheel for tubeless, and the method in this video outlines only one of them. It is intentionally tape heavy, but will result in a tubeless system that holds air very well and is easy to set up with a floor pump. The most important consideration before beginning a tubeless conversion is if your rim and tire are labeled as tubeless compatible. While it is possible to convert non-tubeless branded equipment, it is generally more difficult and time-consuming. There is also the chance that it will not perform as well as tubeless-specific tires and rims. With that being said, the following tubeless method can be translated over to many different setups, but for the purposes of this video, we will use a Sun Ringley Mulefoot 80 rim and Schwalbe Jumbo Jim 26x4-inch light skin tire. Materials you will need are 1.88-inch wide Gorilla Tape, tubeless valve stems, tubeless sealant, 1/4 inch by 5/8 inch bonded sealing washers, and waterproof silicone sealant. For the first step, we will use the silicone sealant. On the Mulefoot rim, and other rims as well, there are small holes around the bead seat, as well as a seam where the rim is joined together. These are all potential air leaks in your tubeless setup. To make sure your rim is as airtight as possible, apply a small amount of silicone sealant to all the holes in the rim, and a thin layer on the rim seam. Smooth the sealant with a flat edge or the tip of the applicator. Allow the silicone to cure for the recommended cure time. Sealing the rim with silicone is not completely necessary, but will guarantee the best possible tubeless conversion for your rim. Next, it is time to apply the Gorilla Tape. Make sure the rim surface is as clean and dry as possible. Cut a small square of Gorilla Tape and stick it to the end of the tape roll, sticky side against sticky side, leaving some off the end. Starting opposite the valve hole, stick the small tape square down over the rim seam and begin unrolling the tape along the inside of the rim with the sticky side out. This is most easily done on a hard floor, using the wheel as leverage to keep the tape taut as you work your way around the wheel. The goal is to cover the rim cutouts and spoke nipples completely all the way around. Once you have gone around, keep the tape tight and cut it, leaving about 3 to 4 inches of overlap. Stick the tape against itself. For the next step, go around the rim once more with Gorilla Tape, except this time the sticky side will be facing toward the hub and adhering to the layer of tape we've just finished. It's important to keep the tape tight and straight, as once the two layers of tape touch, it is very difficult to separate them. Leave about 3 to 4 inches of overlap and stick the tape to itself once more. Now it's time to add the tape that seals the rim. We will start at the seam, the same as the last two layers, but this time we will tape off center from the rim. Getting this placement correct is crucial to the performance of the tubeless conversion. One edge of the tape should be in the middle of the earlier layers, and the other edge will be on the bead seat of the rim. It's important to make sure that the edge of the tape does not ride too high toward the bead lock, but instead stays on the flat bead seat. If there is tape on the bead lock, it will interfere with the fit of the tire onto the rim. Tape all the way around the wheel, making sure that the tape stays consistently tight and not too high or low. Leave a small amount of overlap and stick the tape to itself. Repeat this with the other side of the rim, being careful to keep the tape tight and consistent. Once the wheel is fully taped, poke a hole for the valve stem. This can be done with anything pointy measuring around the same diameter as the valve hole in the rim, but take care not to split the tape. For the next step, mount the tire and tube on the wheel. The tire will be staying here, so make sure it is in correct rotational direction and the logo is aligned accordingly. Inflate the tire. It may be necessary to inflate the tire more than usual to get it to seat all the way around the bead. This is normal. Typically, this will be about 15 to 20 psi. Do not overinflate the tire. Now it's time to let the tape bond using air pressure. Leave the tire inflated between 12 to 15 psi from anywhere between 1 to 24 hours. Past 24 hours is likely not necessary, with an ideal time being several hours. Once the tape is set, take the air out of the tube. Break one side of the tire free from the rim and push it down into the middle, being careful to leave the other side of the tire seated. This may be difficult, and you might need to lay the wheel on the ground and push sharply on the sidewall of the tire. Remove the tube. Install a tubeless valve on the rim, and use a bonded sealing washer between the rim and valve lock nut. This keeps the threads from bottoming out when the lock nut is tightened. Now push on the rubber part of the valve stem inside the rim to remove all slack and use your fingers to tighten the lock nut. The valve should not move easily when pushed side to side. Begin installing the unseated part of the tire back onto the rim, but leave a small gap. Pour between 3 to 4 ounces of tubeless sealant into the tire and finish installing it on the rim. Now comes the tricky part, reseating the tire with no tube inside. It may be helpful to remove the valve core for this step, as getting the tire to seat is much easier with more airflow. If you're using a floor pump, you can use your fingers to move as much of the tire as possible onto the bead seat before beginning to inflate. This makes it so the remaining rubber of the tire is tight against the tape, sealing the air in and allowing to pump without much air escaping. Begin inflating the tire, listening and watching the bead. If you can hear a lot of air escaping, look for any obvious gaps and readjust the tire bead with your fingers. If you're having difficulties with getting the tire to seat, you can also use your legs to help push the tire over. This can be very helpful in getting larger gaps to close. Once the tire begins to seat, you will hear a difference in the sound of the air filling the tire, and the bead will move to the correct position on the rim. Keep inflating until the bead snaps into place all around the wheel. This may take higher than normal air pressure. Do not exceed the maximum pressure listed on the tire. Congratulations! Your wheel is now tubeless. Now that your wheel has been converted, there will be a short break-in period where the tubeless sealant enters and plugs any small leaks that may still be present. You can help this process by shaking your wheel, bouncing it on the ground, or spinning it on its axle. Of course, one of the best ways to agitate the sealant is to go out and ride your bike. Keep an eye on the pressure and inflate as necessary. After a ride or two, your tubeless system will be fully sealed. Tubeless tips, tricks, and info. Tubeless systems generally require very little maintenance. However, over a period of time, the sealant can dry out. The time this takes varies greatly depending on the environment, but checking on it every few months is a good idea. The easiest way to check is by simply removing the wheel from your bike and shaking it back and forth. If you can hear the sealant sloshing, you're in good shape. If not, it may be time to remove one side of the tire and check to be sure there is still liquid sealant present. One of the advantages of a tubeless system is the ability to use lower pressures without pinch flatting. There will be a link in the description of this video with a recommended pressure chart to take full advantage of this. Please click the link for more information. Another advantage of tubeless is the weight lost in tubes. While you gain some weight in the tape on the rim versus a conventional rim strip, weight is lost overall by foregoing the tube. This comes out to an average of about 117 grams per wheel, or 234 grams per wheel set. Tubeless systems are quickly becoming the mainstay of the cycling industry, with fat bikes following close behind. Although not everyone is running tubeless just yet, that percentage grows smaller every year as more and more people see the advantages tubeless has to offer. With this video, we hope to make these advantages even more accessible with basic setup steps and simple maintenance procedures. Thank you for watching, and have fun in the trails.